All right, what's up, world? How's everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic week. We got Bitcoin breaking out of around weekly support. We have it moving up. Yesterday, it liquidated December's high, which the question on everybody's mind now is, what is next? As of right now, Bitcoin's price action looks like it still wants to go up. We're going to discuss what we think will happen today, but we're also going to discuss the macro picture on Bitcoin a little bit and what we think can happen moving on. As we are in a brand new year, this is the first full week of trade. We are absolutely expecting some volatility. We've got big news coming on January the 15th, so we could see some choppy price action. We'll talk about all of it. So make sure you guys tune in. If you are looking for live, real trades, you are in the right place. Of course, the risk that you risk will be up to you. And make sure you don't risk more than you are willing to lose on any given trade, because they can always get stopped out. The last time we did a public live stream, we were looking for longs on Bitcoin. We were looking for longs. We got stopped out on the first attempt. We took a long right here at 88,763. That trade got stopped out. Then we left the limit order out and it got filled on the pullback. So that put us in this long. And I just closed that out yesterday as it breached up into December's high. I had to take profits. So now what am I looking for? What is my bias for today? Well, obviously yesterday was big, as we did something. We did something big. We made a fresh month high, but we're so early. This is January the 6th. We're 6 days into the new year. Have we set the monthly low already? Have we set the monthly high? We don't know. So basically what we're going to keep our eyes on is we're going to keep our eyes on the VIX today, as the VIX is very important for me anyways, to basically look and see what I think Bitcoin's going to do. And right now, the price action still looks good. It looks really bullish. It looks like it's pulling back. You're not seeing any significant sell side pressure. There are indicators suggesting that the sellers are, in fact, selling the day high, but we'll see what happens. The VIX is what I'm concerned about. So let me get up there and show you what I'm talking about. If you look at the top left of your screen, that is the VIX chart. This is the 30-minute. Let me go ahead out to the weekly real quick. Sorry, there we go. Okay, so if you see what the VIX has been doing here for the last 3 weeks, it really hasn't done anything. We had a nice breakdown. We traded lower. We set a fresh December yearly low. In December is what I meant to say. We set a fresh yearly low in December. And then the week after that, when we had the new year, we didn't really see a lot of volatility. The VIX just kind of traded sideways here in this range. It did, however, liquidate the previous week's high with that wick right there. So basically what we were looking at last week is, as long as the VIX was trading under 1526, we had a bullish bias on Bitcoin. We were looking to buy support areas. This week, we have the VIX again gapping up, moving higher. Yesterday it was down. Let's go out here and look. But so now we have this point, right? The next liquidation point on the VIX would be 1542, right? So as long as the VIX is trading under that, we can have a bullish bias on Bitcoin. That would be my normal scenario or my normal analysis. I would agree and concur with that statement. I would be like, yes, absolutely, we should be looking for more upside. However, you've been making higher daily lows. So each one of these days, the lows have been higher, right? You gap up and then you roll over, but you still make that higher daily low. Same thing. We gap down on this day, pushed up into and made that weekly high, and then closed down. So, but the low was still higher than the previous day. And then here we are now. So each one of these day lows have literally been higher. So the VIX looks like it's trying to break out. So that's going to put us in a little bit of a pickle here, because obviously if if the VIX is trading above 1542, my analysis is on Bitcoin that we probably have January's high in for a little bit. However, if the VIX fails to break out here, then I think Bitcoin could break out of December's range and start, getting up into the 95s and 98s and then ultimately the 100K mark. But as of right now, with this structure, it looks like a bear flag. It smells like a bear flag. So basically what I'm looking at is if we break down and make a fresh daily low, my bullish bias continues on Bitcoin because the VIX is starting to fill out and break down out of that bear flag pattern. But as long as it's making higher daily lows, I am very risk averse here. I would be more or less a seller on this weekly swing high on Tuesday. So with that being said, we have to look at some other factors. But the VIX very much positioned here for a breakout. I would love to see it liquidate the high and then roll over and then make a fresh daily low in the process. But as long as it's making higher lows, we have to be very, very, very risk averse on Bitcoin. Now going back down to Bitcoin, you can see that it is trying to make this run here. It's trying to make a fresh day high. Here we are on the daily chart. So you're trading up on today's high, obviously under yesterday's high. Yesterday was a very good candle. This is typically what we want to see for upside continuation. This also is what we want to see for upside continuation. My problem is it doesn't look good on the VIX. Could be that the VIX does go up and Bitcoin continues up. Could that happen? Obviously the answer is yes to that. Anything can happen in the markets. The VIX can do its own thing, as it is the S&P volatility metric, not Bitcoin's volatility metric. But if you look at yesterday, if you look at the session volume profile here, the POC ended up migrating to the top side of the range as Bitcoin set fresh day highs and fresh month highs, then pulling back. But if you notice the red, that's sell side pressure. So you have a lot more people selling than buying up here. And then if we go into today's action, you can see they are also trying to sell at the day high. So if you want to be a long person, like if you want to be a buyer because you think Bitcoin is going up, where would you look to be a buyer? The answer would be right here at 93,119. You would be looking to be a buyer right here, right at the day low. All right. Now you don't want to buy it instantly. You want to see if Bitcoin acts like it's going to hold there. If it doesn't, then you could be getting stopped out, as it might want to come back down deeper into yesterday's range. However, that's really the only place to be a buyer. Where can you be a seller? Yesterday's high. And if you get stopped out there, you can watch for a short back up here, and only when and if Bitcoin refuses to trade higher than that. So this structure looks good for upside continuation. It looks good for the breakout. So, and Bitcoin's already trading above the yearly opening range. We're not so concerned with the 2025 yearly opening range anymore because it is 2026. However, it is still a large objective price level that people will position themselves in and around. So it could still cause trades to be placed, but I think the more relevant levels for right now are going to be the January open, weekly opens, and then last month's high. And last month's open could also come back into play as a potential long opportunity. So going into today, it's a little bit mixed. Okay, let me go out here real quick, just show you something. So I have been bearishly biased on this and this for the last few days. I've been hoping that it rolled over. We did put on a trade on it Friday. It ultimately did work out as we went into the weekend and dropped. So I was able to take profits on that, but I got stopped out of what I had left open on it last night as last night as it moved back to the upside. The reason I'm bringing this up is because November was an insanely bearish month for Bitcoin, and December was also not an insanely bearish month, but a very choppy month. If we look at the XMR, you can see here that November was a very bullish month. And then December was a very choppy month. And then here in January, we're pushing up. So can Bitcoin and XMR move up at the same time? Yes, but they have been kind of working in tandem, almost trading inversely to one another. So I wanted to see the breakdown happen on XMR and Zcash, and neither one of them, they are both privacy tokens. They do have utility, and people that want to buy this, they're literally trying to hide money. So you're not going to see like normal sell side pressure on this. This asset isn't traded on regular exchanges like Binance and Coinbase. You have to do other things to actually get in, but the futures are traded. And as my buddy Wes told me, futures dictate spot prices. It is traded. So you can trade XMR, the futures, but it just doesn't act like a normal traded asset. It doesn't feel to me like, like it's easy to trade. It's a very difficult trading asset. But I wanted to see it break down. It didn't break down. I got stopped out. So whenever what I want to see happening on an asset, when it doesn't, that basically lets me know that my bias is wrong. My bias is wrong on this. So this is obviously super bullish here today. Bitcoin isn't super bullish today, but it is up on the day. But as long as this is super bullish, and if we look at Zcash and pull up its daily chart as well, you can see a fresh breakout here. So a support test at the daily 21 exponential after last week's breakout move, run to the top side of the channel here. You've been pulling back. So if we were going to see a larger breakdown, I would have wanted to see that by now. But instead, what you got was accumulation at the 21 exponential, and now you're seeing an upside break. So like if you put a little trend line on this, if you were looking at this as, whatever, a bull flag or whatever, then this is your answer as to, is it breaking out? The answer is yes, it is. It is literally breaking out now. So a lot of people are going to be more structurally bullish on this. They're going to be looking to buy pullbacks because you have this fresh breakout. This could obviously be a trap, but with what we saw down here on these lows, we didn't like it. We didn't like it. It didn't feel like the sellers were in this. So is these two things, XMR and Zcash, breaking out? Is that going to affect what Bitcoin has going on with it? Well, we'll find out today. If Bitcoin continues to break out and make fresh weekly highs, then obviously the upside is more rampant, and I would be looking to be more of a buyer. But I would love to see that with the other markets kind of, working in tandem with one another, as the trades just seem to work out a lot better when that's happening. So we're no longer in the Zcash and XMR shorts. We did make good money on them, but they just didn't give us what we wanted to see. So now we have a question on what do we do with Mr. Bitcoin here. So you are making a fresh daily high right now. It's 15 minutes before the New York session open. This would be a decent spot to look for bearish entries if you have a bearish bias on Bitcoin. The structure on Bitcoin is bullish. You are trending higher on the monthly range. Monthly volume also confirms the bullishness. You are also trending higher inside the weekly range, right? This was yesterday's open. You are up near the highs of the weekly range. So you are trending up, but it's only Tuesday. The weekly range can change. It can change dramatically. But we'll see what happens. But overall, you're closing dailies back above the 21. It's not just closing dailies above the 21. Right here was the close above. It's the upside continuation you get after. That's what we look for. That's what sets our bias. If we're using the 21 to be a buyer on a daily closing basis, well, if you're closing dailies, consistently closing higher dailies, then you have to have a bullish bias, at least on the near term. The long term, you are still bearish, as the weekly 21 exponential is all the way up here. So if you look at the chart on the weekly, it looks really, really bad. This does look like a bear flag. I'll give you that. There's your expansion or your pole. Here is your flag. Now, generally, I don't like to see the flag have twice as many candles in it as the poll does, but last month was a very low volume month. There just wasn't any upside or downside continuation. Now, yesterday in volume, we did see upside continuation for the first time in a long time. So if I scroll this out and show you all of December's price action, for instance, now let me turn this indicator off. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on this chart. I understand that, but look down here on the bottom. You can see we did finally get a breakout move on volume. This is the entire month of December. That's what you couldn't do in December. You couldn't get that upside breakout on deltas. So this is just the cumulative volume delta indicator. It just lets you know which side of the market is more aggressive. When you have bullish deltas, it just literally means that market buys are happening more aggressively than limit sells, and then vice versa. When you're bearish deltas, you're seeing market sells more aggressive than bullish limits. So right here, yesterday, obviously the bulls were more aggressive, and we seen that upside continuation move. We did get a higher close, but it's December's high that matters. That is the breakout point. If you're trading under December's high, you are still range bound. You've just liquidated the short stops that were setting above December's high. So you could still see price roll over from here. We want to see it break out strongly from this point, because this is the point that every technical indicator or every technical analysis trader is watching. Every single one of them, including us, because this is going to tell us that either A, Bitcoin is not as weak as it was in December any longer, or B, Bitcoin can't even break out above December's highs, so it is still extremely weak. That shifts narrative. It drives order flow. So what happened, this is why I'm such a proponent of what happened last month, last year, last quarter, doesn't matter anymore. That's why I'm not a proponent of using fractals on charts, because every day new data, new stuff, new things are happening, and whatever's happening in the world drives order flow. It's order flow we track and watch, because order flow gives us our biases, right? So anyways, moving on. Yesterday looks really good. The volume looks really good. So now what I want to see for the breakout to be sustained, it doesn't have to happen today. It can happen in the middle of the week, on Thursday or random days, right? I just want to see multiple days, in at least 2 days inside of a week, showing me the bullish strength. So if we get another day like this inside of this week, then I would say, yes, this trend could be legit, and we could see Bitcoin getting back up into the 95s and then the 100K area. If it fails to do that, and worse, we start to see this garbage again, then obviously we're going to be wanting to hold shorts, right? All right, so with that being said, we'll see what Bitcoin does here. We got a little bit of time before the bell. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic holiday season, because now we are back with a vengeance. The year is fully started. It started with a bang. January 3rd, we got the president of the United States forcefully removing the president of Venezuela. We got a lot of stuff happening on the world stage. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We're still in a Fed rate cutting regime, but the bond market don't like that. We'll look at a few bond charts. We'll look at some ratio charts. We'll look at a lot of stuff. Now, if we go look at alts would suggest that this breakout is legit. So last week, me and my community, we were looking to be a buyer on Bonk. We pulled Bonk out of the other alts to be a buyer on, because we saw something we really, really liked. We seen heavy sell side pressure, trend style sell side pressure, but Bonk refused to break down. So we were looking for longs on Bonk. It was on a Wednesday. It was the day after we did the public live stream. So we were a buyer on Bonk right here at last week's low right here. So when we liquidated, we took the long here. Well, as you can see, there was one more 4-hour candle that gave bonk downside continuation and then traded all the way down to previous week's low, which was down there. So we just smoked in one move 2 weeks worth of lows. And I did not buy it again. And I wish I would have. But we were just 1 day early on catching an 80% rally. Bonk absolutely exploded to the upside. I don't think it was quite 80%, but we were all over it like stink on poo-poo. And we just were 1 day early. I really wish we could have got in on that. Yeah, almost 80%, 78%. That would have been a phenomenal trade, but it did work out. But anyways, the whole point I'm even bringing this up, if you look at alts, they're suggesting that there is more strength to come for Bitcoin. So I'm optimistically bullish, very much so. But if the VIX breaks out, then I have to throw a short on Bitcoin. I would love to be able to put on another long and catch what could be a magnificent rally, right? It literally could be. But I am long spot Bitcoin. So obviously if Bitcoin rallies, then I will be able to capitalize on it, or at least I won't capitalize, but my portfolio, my long only portfolio will look much better than it does right now, obviously. And I know there are other people out there that want Bitcoin back at all-time highs because a lot of people buy highs, unfortunately. But in Bitcoin's history, you've never had to be in the red for more than 4 years. Every 4 years, if you bought Bitcoin at the all-time high, if you just waited 4 years later, you were in the green, which nobody does that. Most people buy the highs and then they get wrecked and then they exit and then they know they don't come back. Bitcoin is extremely volatile. It always has been. It always will be, or at least until the world adopts it. If the world adopts Bitcoin, there's only 200 million people that own Bitcoin right now. If 6 billion or 8 billion people buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin will go to the moon. Now, obviously, there are other things that is needed, right? But it doesn't need everybody to do it. It just needs the majority of people to do it, like run a node and use Bitcoin as money. Spend it. Don't sell your Bitcoin, just spend it. Use it to buy goods and services if you can. Those things is what's ultimately going to keep Bitcoin as money. It won't be just hodling Bitcoin. That won't be good enough. We need to hodl it and we need to run nodes and stuff like that. But if the world adopts Bitcoin, Bitcoin moons. It's as simple as that. And so far, the world has voted on Bitcoin. I don't know any other asset class that's trading at $94,000 per share. None. Well, obviously, the world has voted yes on, do we think Bitcoin is money or not? They said yes so far. We just need the rest of the world to get on board. But with that being said, there still could be more downside. So if I'm not trying to shake you out of your shorts or anything like that. I still have on those protective puts, but I'm willing for those protective puts to expire worthless because when I bought them, they were only for a hedge. So they will, it's not like a trade. It was an insurance type of deal. So I'm not trying to shake you out of your shorts or anything like that. I just don't have a super bearish bias on Bitcoin right now. The world is in a lot better place, or at least America is in a lot better place than it was last time Bitcoin experienced the 4-year market cycle theory. Back in 2022, we were bearish then, but inflation was skyrocketing. We had, it was up at 9. So of course we had a bearish bias. We knew the Fed was going to hike interest rates. We knew that was coming. It had to happen. That's what gave us our bearish bias back in 2022. The only thing we have for a bearish bias now is the 4-year market cycle. You don't have skyrocketing inflation. You don't have skyrocketing unemployment. You don't have anything on the macro side that suggests we are in a bear market. In fact, if you look at the XLK, XLC, XLY, and XLF, these are the 4 biggest sectors inside of the S&P. They all look good. They're all right at all-time highs, except tech, the XLK. Now, tech is the biggest sector inside the S&P. But if the other biggest sectors are doing good or looking good, what do you think happens to the S&P if tech catches up and starts doing the same thing? Then the S&P explodes to the upside. That's good for Bitcoin. That's not bearish for Bitcoin. But for some reason, Bitcoin and the S&P have become disjointed. They're not trading the same. So there is fear out there. There is legitimate fear. And there's always FUD surrounding that fear. There's always a reason. So this time, we have MicroStrategy being kicked out of the index products. Is that bad for MSTR? Yeah. Will it kill MSTR? Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. Only time will tell. But a lot of people think it will. A lot of smart people think that when this happens, it will be the death of MSTR. And if MSTR starts to do a debt spiral where they have to sell their shares on the open market and then other people are selling their shares also, the shares they own of MicroStrategy, that will cause the debt spiral where the chart will just go down and down and down and down. And it's possible. Will that hurt Bitcoin? Yes, because MSTR owns like $60 billion worth of Bitcoin. So yeah, it wouldn't be good, but there never is. FUD isn't meant to be good. It's meant to shake you out of your hodl bags. That's what it's designed for. Why would they publicly announce that stuff? Why wouldn't they keep it to themselves? Because they need your help. That's why. They can't do it themselves. They need retail investors to feel the FUD, feel the pain, feel the fear, and bail. That's what they want. They're not going to get it, though, because we're going to fight them. We're sick of the elites deciding our future. So here we go. The bell just rang. We're going to see what Bitcoin does here. It is already trading at fresh day highs, and that's a nice 30-minute push there. We've got the VIX trading around day lows. The S&P 500 just made a fresh day high. No, it did not. Sorry. S&P had a pullback. Wait, yes. Wait a minute. What? No. Okay. That's not the right. I'm on the wrong chart. I'm on a 5-minute chart up there. Sorry. Okay, now I can see what's going on. All right. S&P's not making fresh day highs. The cash market just opened, so of course it did, but it looks good. The S&P looks good for upside continuation. Here is the S&P futures. You can see on the 4-hour chart here, you've built in this support zone. So if support can hold, then I would expect the S&P to go back up. A big gap up yesterday on the S&P 500. That caused a gap and go style rally all day pretty much. A lot of people that were short on Friday last week were stuck yesterday. That forced the upside move. So now that those people have all been liquidated and whatnot, we're going to see what the S&P really wants to do here. If the VIX continues to go lower, it's going to be much better. Now, you do have a brand new yearly opening range here, so that could act as support as it did yesterday. What we want to see from the VIX today is we want to see the VIX today take out yesterday's low and continue. That would be good for Bitcoin, not bad. But down here on volume deltas, you can see you're setting pretty close to neutral, so there's not any real signal there. The sellers are going to hit it. It looks like they're going to try to hit it here at the day high. Or it's the previous high. It's no longer the high, obviously. So you could try to short it there. And then higher if it breaks out to the upside. Mitigate your risk so you're not losing the full risk unit on one trade. Try to split your risk units up into pieces. So like maybe, a third. Split it up into thirds. What you would normally take on one trade, split that up into 3 parts That gives you 3 opportunities to nail the trade as price chops around the level you are looking at. When we have a bias, whether it's up or down on the day, we generally want to see our trade work out rather quickly. So if you have a sell side bias and you are looking for short entries here at this price, you want to see price start to drift away from that level quickly. If it doesn't, if it stays sideways at the level for like an hour or so, then your short bias could be wrong. But we'll see what happens here on the 15-minute chart. You can see the deltas here. The sellers are coming in right off the bell. Makes sense, as that was pretty much the trend all December. You would have a rally and then New York bell would ring and then Bitcoin would sell off. But now the sellers are literally... What's going on here? Now the sellers, as of right now, are no longer in control of price, though. Back then, they still were. You're closing dailies above the 21 EMA, so the bulls are clearly in control here. I still can't buy it here, though. I need a pullback down to support, and right now that support is down around 93,157. So if we get a pullback down into there today, if that area can hold, that's where I would be tempted to put on a little bit of bullish risk. And then, of course, if it can't get back up there, then I would put on a little bit of bearish risk. But I don't love the bearish trade as long as the VIX is making fresh day lows. All right. So we're gonna sit here and wait and see what Bitcoin does real quick. Let me fix these settings, as it looks like my upload speed is getting spanked a little bit. So let's try to drop the video bit rate. See if that helps. Because my speed was pretty good this morning. Anything above 5 can hold a YouTube stream good. But it's not a great upload speed for sure. Let me see here. Anybody got any questions? It doesn't look like a good morning. PMIs, I think. PMIs are tomorrow, if I ain't mistaken, Oxum. We had PMIs on Monday, the manufacturing. It's the service PMIs tomorrow, Wednesday, January 7th, ISM services PMI. This one it was a miss on manufacturing, and they're also forecasting a miss on services as well. But that'll be tomorrow. There's no real news today. Nothing really that will affect Bitcoin. All right, so it's retesting the old day high. This is where you would be putting that risk on if you are a bear. With a stop above the day high. And it's not a full-size position, because this structure is obviously bullish, no matter what time frame you look at. The weekly, you're bullish this week. You're above the 21. It's way down here. Monthly VWAP, weekly VWAP. The structure is up. And this is support down in here. So make sure you're not putting on a lot of risk here for the sell. I am not a bear. I will put it on, but I don't trust the downside move here. But I haven't really looked at other things this morning. DXY had a nice rejection above the weekly swing highs yesterday. We put on a long on the euro when this happened. So when we traded up into here, the Trade Talk community, we decided to put on this short. And it did reject. So if you go look at yesterday's range here, you traded up. This is where we put on the short. So we're still in that. We took a long on the euro dollar. So we're still in that, but it doesn't look like it doesn't want to hold that downside continuation yet. Now the dollar is trending down here, has broken out of a very parabolic downtrend, but that's not what makes it bearish. This makes it bearish for us. So we want to see this hold as resistance and this thing start to roll over. A bearish dollar could be bullish for Bitcoin. It hasn't really been, but it could be. When we had this big downside move on the dollar, it didn't really help Bitcoin that much at all. But we know now Bitcoin could have been getting accumulated down there. Oh, obviously, as the bears were trying to knock it down here below weekly support, they just couldn't do it. This is what made us bullish, because the bears couldn't get continuation. You know they were trying. You know they were. They just couldn't do it. So that left us to believe that there was somebody down here accumulating it, basically stopping price from getting any lower. And then, so ultimately, once that gets exhausted, you see the repricing. I mean, it looks good for upside continuation. But this is the level that everybody's going to be watching. That is that December swing high. So you need to get above that. You really do. Otherwise, it's just still, people are going to be looking for the downside break to continue. There is nothing that says that it has to continue lower because of what happened in November or December. That is typically what we would be looking for because of the market structure. But Bitcoin could put in the same thing as it did here. There was a breakdown, sideways inside month, then boom, up it went. So you could watch the next 4 months be bullish. We don't know what it'll do. So a breakout above this is key for Bitcoin's upside continuation. That's key to bring in new driver or new bullish order flow, right? To drive a bullish narrative. So it's definitely struggling here to reject. We did start closing candles under that level, so we definitely want to see that continue. Let's see what the 3 minute looks like. Okay, so you haven't been able to close the 3 minute back above it yet. That's good. Further sell, obviously, but you definitely need to see that continue. It is a higher high, too. Well, it's higher than the breakdown high. 23 seconds left on this close. And that's what you would want to see on a close if you're a bear. But you definitely want to see this high not get breached. You want to see these price starting to make lows, new lows, not new highs. Good morning, Heath. Can you check RTY and LTC? Yeah, here in a second. We're seeing if Bitcoin's going to get back above the December high or not real quick. Yesterday's high is just above the December high, so it's just above it. Not much. We're kind of waiting to see what it's going to do here. Two-minute doesn't look great. The 3-minute still does look okay, but it doesn't look great. We want to see it starting to move away from this level pretty damn soon. Otherwise, we're going to be expecting a run up there to 94.8. The 5-minute already looks like garbage, but it could be a trap. This close could have been a trap. So we definitely want to see this low get breached here. But the narrative for that to happen isn't really it's still not working, as you're trading right now on the VIX under the yearly opening range. So you've made a fresh day low again. That is ultimately good for Bitcoin. Now my VIX data is a little bit lagged, but my S&P data is not, so if the VIX starts to trend lower back under the yearly open, that's going to be really good, or at least positive, for a Bitcoin continuation move. So if that's happening, I would be more keen to want to be a buyer down here than a seller up here. I don't think that's a big enough move to take profits, though, to be honest with you. Yeah, it would not be that big of a move. It's only a 1% move. Okay, so can it make a new low? Nope. It cannot. Come on. Yeah, I don't like that. It's got to make that new low. So obviously you can see how price is just chopping around this level. That means a lot of people are putting trades on based on this level. That's why price is just dilly-dallying around here. Once the exhaustion happens, you'll get the repricing either lower or higher. Of course. S&P's up into 4-hour res, which is a good sign. Bitcoin might not come back down here for the retest. I would like that, as if everything continues to move the way it's moving right now, I would be a buyer here. XAG is also above weekly res. So silver trying to break back out to the upside again. Silver is so strong right now. If dollar gives in to any weakness whatsoever, silver could make fresh all-time highs. They tried to stop it by putting that margin risk higher. So yeah, that was to save the bank. Hopefully whatever bank was about to go under has fixed their issue by closing out that upside risk. But yeah, I mean, you're trading above on silver right now. You're trading above daily res and weekly res. So silver could see a breakout here, but this is also where people are going to be looking to enter shorts if they have a bearish bias. I can't imagine they would have a bearish bias here, but if they do, They're clearly going to be looking for this area to reject price. I would not be bearish. The only reason it didn't hit 90 on this day was because of what they did with the margin requirements. And generally speaking, whenever anything gets into 90, it's just a matter of time before it hits 100. So we'll see what happens here. But now that statement isn't like a backtestable statement or anything. I'm just saying, noticing stuff like that out of experience. It just seems to me like whenever a stock hits 90 bucks, it can get to 100 pretty quickly. But Bitcoin is starting to roll over here, starting to leave the area, getting the sellers thinking that they're in control of this. But remember, this is support. This is what the sellers need to beat. So even if it does roll away from your short side entry here, it doesn't mean you're right. Price needs to get back down here, and we need to see what happens down here. This is what matters. Nice little repricing away from the level. Four-hour res held absolutely beautifully. If you look at 4-hour res, it's right here. Could just barely get above that. Well, let's go back 3 minutes. You could only close one 3-minute candle above it. Well, 2. Now you're coming back into the weekly VWAP. You may not even get down here. It does look like them buyers have been literally front running that all morning. A lot of people have a bearish bias on Bitcoin for some reason. Oh, I mean, I know the reason, but... Pants check, says Wes. Yeah, we don't wear them. Not happening. It is 70 degrees here in South Florida this morning. January the 6th. I'd say a lot of northern states are under snow right now. Yeah, they're front running that weekly VWAP. VIX is making fresh day lows. S&P just broke out to fresh day highs. Took out yesterday's high. Bitcoin's probably not going to give us that long. I was hoping it would. As I would rather take the long than the short. I did put on the short risk, but I don't love that trade. The better trade for me would be to look to long support. I can't do that on Fartcoin. It really isn't building any supports. Bonk, on the other hand, looks like, I mean, it looks like it may be done. It put in bearish divergence down here on the 4-hour. So that's going to bring sellers in, so it could continue higher. I can't believe that the weekly 21 on Bonk is right there. Let's see if that's real. It is real. It's even worse. It's closer. My goodness. Yeah, that would make me a seller on the first retest of that, probably. Oh, if Bonk could take out today's high, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. As today's high is all the way up there. It'd be hard for me to put on a short here, but I could put it on there. Like here, if it continues to reject there, I could put the short on. I think I would rather short Bonk than Bitcoin. But, I mean, the volume doesn't look good for the short. The deltas don't look good for the short here. Let's see. Session volume profile doesn't either. Session volume profile was down near the day low. Whenever it's down near the day low, I don't love that. It feels like they're buying it. Okay, so Bitcoin pulling back here. Maybe it does want to give us that. S&P also pulling back. So S&P right now just did a liquidation of yesterday's high. So you've made a fresh weekly high. Let's see if it can continue. That's the key. Continuation. Zcash also rejecting. I am so mad I got stopped out of that freaking trade. If it breaks down, I am going to be epically pissed off. What is XMR doing? It is not rejecting. Session volume profile real quick. Oh, looks good for the short. Oh, looks good for the short. Come on. But technically, it doesn't, because it's above the daily 21. It rejected going lower at the daily 21. So this was a bear trap. Bear trap highs were smoked. Could this be a bull trap now? It could, but damn. It should have rolled over. S&P moving up. Come on, Bitcoin, get down here. Let us see what you want to do down here. If it breaks right through this level and gets like down into here, then obviously I wouldn't be a buyer. But if it comes down here and just tags it and then slowly stops going lower, I would be a buyer here. Okay, VIX is down at yesterday's low. That's good. It's got to continue lower. It can't just go down there, peekaboo, and then start heading back up. It's got to continue lower. Come on down here, bitty boy. Come on. Come give it. Give it to us. If you want to short XMR, I would be looking for shorts right here. Remember, you don't really see heavy sell-side pressure on this asset because people just, when they buy it, they're buying it to hide money. So they're not like exiting en masse. But if it can get up there and stay reject, which it's already done here, then you could hold a short, but the short, I wouldn't expect it to work. Not a great trade, but it is a trade nonetheless. Yeah, looks like the buyers are just don't have it up here. Good morning, says Paper Wiggleman. What's up? Netflix is approaching 25-year open. See what happens there, I guess. Not really. I haven't been paying attention to Netflix. Let me go check it out real quick. I will look at your ass. Yeah, this thing's getting beat up. Wow. A lot of profit taking happening on Netflix. That is, yeah, very, very strange to say the least. If it doesn't hold there, Oxum, and you're looking to be a buyer, I would see what it does down at the year low. If the year low, if it could liquidate the year low, But this could be a buying area, but it's straight down into it. What is other tech doing? Apple's down today. Microsoft also. Nvidia's up on day highs, but this could be a selling up. Amazon's breaking out. Google's, yeah, looking like it's failing a little bit as well. Yeah, so tech is struggling. If tech were to get bullish, then S&P will be sky moon. So Bitcoin can't even get down to support, guys. We're going into 10 o'clock here, so this on a 4-hour chart looks very bullish. Like, you can't even get down here. You've already put in a trending candle to the upside. So now, more or less, you're testing the midpoint and holding. I would much rather have been I wish I would have bought it. Obviously, I wasn't awake, but so it didn't give me an opportunity to get long this morning. I was wanting it to pull back into here. That would have been the best place for the long. ZEC could just be a pullback. They could buy this. This could be a buyable opportunity on Zcash. If it breaks down through it, I wouldn't want to be a buyer on it. But if it fails to trade under this, I could be a buyer on Zcash. It's completely rerouted and completely reversed its structure here. So the structure was weak, and then it reversed, and so yeah, we'll see what it does here. If it holds, we might be a buyer. I hate buying Zcash at $500, but if XMR continues to trend up, which it isn't doing right now, but if it does, I would have a bullish bias on Zcash. Yeah, I wish the price structure looked better for the short. It just doesn't. I can't take it. Not a whole lot of stuff to trade here this morning. I can't get long up here because you're massively overbought. Wait a minute. Why is this delta? Let's get the RSI. So massively overbought up here. I don't ever want to be a buyer on an overbought higher time frame level, such as a 4-hour, right? Anything higher than 4-hour, you don't really want to be a buyer on overbought. And on the 8-hour, you're super overbought. Like, you're at 78. Bonk was also extremely overbought. They all are, right? And I don't want to be a buyer, but I don't want to be a seller just because they're overbought either. Because they're not that overbought. I don't like to short alts unless they're like 95 level overbought. And I definitely don't like to short alts when I have a bullish bias on Bitcoin, which I do right now. Dominance is weak this morning. That's going to be positive for alts. But what's Ethereum doing right now? Ethereum is breaking out. So Ethereum is going to the moon. It is also getting overbought. Huge bullish volume deltas here on Ethereum. That is definitely good. Overbought though, can't be a buyer. So we need to allow them to pull back a little bit more. XMR, you literally are pissing me off. If you fail, I'm going to be so mad. Because I've been short this thing since up in here. I shorted it over here, took profits, shorted it again here, took profits, then again here, took profits, but this changes the structure. It makes it look like a breakout, but the sellers are still here on the deltas. Well, this could just literally be a stop run, but I won't know that until later on. Not great for me. A VRT had a pullback, bought 162.6. All right, let me go look at the first person. Was Bravo RTY. So he wants to look at Russell's futures. Oh, right there. I can just look at that. So they look good. They're breaking out here yesterday. So as long as you're not taking out yesterday's low, right? As long as you're not making fresh weekly lows, I like it higher. But here's the thing. I would still like it higher even if it did put in a fresh weekly low, if it failed to get downside continuation below the weekly low. Now, that could be a viable opportunity. So really and truly, but the structure here, it looks like it wants to go up. It looks like it wants to go higher. I would not want to short this. Now, it did hold daily res, but the close is too close to the resistance. So basically, if you make a fresh high and then reject, maybe that's where you could put short side on if you have a short side bias. If you're long and you're holding longs, just keep holding them. It's in good shape. And then Litecoin. Yeah, as long as I have a bullish bias on Bitcoin, I have a bullish bias on crypto, mostly. Obviously, some will outperform, others won't be good. But yeah, I want to buy Bitcoin if it pulls back to here. Let's set an alert real quick, just so that way I'm not missing it by looking at other assets. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the short or anything here. It is what it is. But if we look at it in terms of strength, it's not as strong as Bitcoin is or Ethereum. Has Ethereum made a fresh month high? I don't know. No, it has not. Okay, so it's about the same in terms of intra-month strength as ETH is. So right up here would be the best short opportunity. But if it can't get up there and then it fails here, then I would just wait to put the short on retests of the December open. But as of right now, it looks like it wants to go higher. And I can't short it just because it's overbought, but I can't buy it either because it isn't extremely overbought. It's almost overbought. So it ain't overbought yet. I still couldn't buy it. I like to buy 50 tests. Like, I want to be a buyer around here. I want to see the breakout above the 50 like we got here. And then I want to see pullbacks. When we break out like this, I want to see pullbacks. And whenever I get those, that's where I want to be a buyer. I want to buy it in anticipation that we're going to go to overbought. I never want to be a buyer at overbought. My long is in here. So, I mean, there's just really nothing I can do. but it could go higher. If it could stay trading above the December open, I feel like the December high would attract prices to that level. Clearly, that's where the liquidation point is. So, yeah, if it bounces off of this area, be a buyer targeting this area. But it would be nice if you could get that pull back into that area and a pull back into the 50 at the same time. That would be pleasant. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get the opportunity to get long. But now for a day trade is different, right? We're looking to scalp intraday volatility. I don't necessarily want to be a buyer on Bitcoin here either. But I don't want to be a seller just because it's overbought, because the momentum is up. And that momentum can continue. So we're just looking for a pullback into support to get long, to see if we can get a momentous move to the upside. Let's see here. So that's a good look for the sellers. You get that breakout move, that close above. So anybody that sold this expecting this to be a trap right now, they're right. For now, they are right. VIX is retracing away from yesterday's low. That is not what I want to see. I want to see continuation below yesterday's low. Now the VIX could literally trade up for the rest of the day. That could put downside pressure on Bitcoin. The sellers have the delta today. This could still just be a buying op. It's not a good supply candle because there was that much time in between from when that was put in. So basically, I wouldn't be looking to short XMR as long as it's maintaining pressure above 443. If you break down under 443, this could be looked at as a supply range, but I just don't love it because it took 8 hours to do. When I want a supply, like a perfect supply candle is like, for me anyways, is when price breaks out and then instantly rejects. I want to look for that entry there, right? That is a perfect. So your 4-hour candle would look like this. And then the next candle would open and look like that. So that way when this candle trades up into supply, that's where the short entry gets put on. And then in theory, if it is a legit supply candle, prices should reverse away from the level. So this isn't what I like, a perfect situation like this. It's just not. But if this candle does end up closing like down in here, which there's not a good chance that will happen. There's only 48 minutes left on this candle. It could still go up. This is the trading range for the last 12 hours. But for 12 hours, this has been the trading range. So this could be a buyable opportunity. $47 minutes happening here. See, this is why, okay. My favorite time frame for anybody that's listening to my voice is a 4-hour. You see me on a 3-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute, or a 5-second chart, right? I don't look at these charts. I only do this when we're live because I know a lot of other people like these lower time frame charts. Me, myself, I only look at 4-hour, like when I'm not in my office, if I'm sitting in my living room, for instance. watching TV and price, I'm not looking at anything lower than this chart because I can see everything. I can see everything that's going on with this chart. If you want to look at a 1 minute chart for 4 hours just to see this exact same data, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. But for me, myself, like, I wouldn't expect a deeper retracement on Bitcoin unless it's breaking under 93,000. If it can't break under and start closing 4 hour candles under this point, then I wouldn't be expecting that deeper correction. So it's just literally the line in the sand for me. So I don't really need to look at the smaller time frame, but I know it's not exciting or fun to look at a 4 hour chart. But you can see the same exact things happening. Like right now, I'm looking at the XMR 4 hour chart and it's literally pissing me off because it's literally rejecting here after stopping me out. And it makes me feel as if I'm going to miss the rollover. Because even though this is higher highs than these highs, it is still on the larger chart, just a lower high. So yeah, this is pissing me off here. But I don't need to look at the 1 minute to see this happening. I can see this happening on the 4 hour. So for me to anticipate that the bulls are going to continue to control XMR's daily range, they needed to hold here. This could still close up here, but this level is really close to this candle's midpoint. It's not quite there, but if it gets down in here, it will be, which would let me know that this could be a legit breakdown. So any pullback into this area, even though the structure on the daily is still bullish, you're bullish on the year, bullish on the day, depending on how this candle closes will give me a whole different outlook. Closes back up in here, it's still bullish. Closes down in here, I can short retests of 443 for a supply candle short. It allows me to see what's really happening on, instead of seeing big candles that really amount to nothing. This big ass candle doesn't matter if price closes up here. But it's not fun to look at 4 hour charts. I get it. See here on Bitcoin, you've done nothing for what? So we started to trend away here. For the first 30 minutes of the market open, sideways, then we started to drift away. That looks good, but we got several levels of support down here. You're just watching all this sideways grindy chop, and it's not accumulating or doing anything. Like, it's not giving you any kind of edge to see it do this. Whereas we know what we're looking for here, right? We can be a buyer as long as price doesn't continue to free fall under 93.1. We can be a buyer here. And then there's that low. So that low is just a midpoint check of this candle. This candle, bullish. But this chart doesn't look bearish. Whereas this chart might look bearish depending on how many candles you're looking at. So it's your choice though. Your choice. But my preference, 4 hour. That's all I look at. Alright, so XMR is currently testing that supply. I hate when that happens before the close. So I'm going to have to let the close happen first on XMR before I get into that. Because the odds are, if it closes down in here, it probably will come back to retest. Unless a free fall starts, and then it won't. Then I'll just miss it. But I'll catch it on Wednesday then. If I can't get it on Tuesday, I'll wait till Wednesday and I'll get it then. But this close will be important. This doesn't look bad. This looks good still. Now, I don't like that it's closing under its midpoint. If I was a bull, if I had bought this support here at 3 a.m., if I would have bought that, I would not like this look. I would be okay with it, but I wouldn't love it. I want to see it close above its midpoint. That tells me it's a little bit stronger. Closing under the midpoint suggests this could just literally be a liquidation, and it could drift lower. I'd be a little bit concerned with that. And Bitcoin grinding back up here. Failing to roll over. Good morning, Heath. Can you check RDOI and Litecoin? We already checked those. Let me see what the next one we looked at. Netflix. We'll get a few shares there for the long hold. He's talking about Netflix. That's not a bad price to look for Netflix longs. I mean, I hate that it's got that much bearish momentum. I would rather see that momentum wane a little bit, like allow it to build in. Support at the level, like prove it. You know what I mean? You got to prove it to me that this is even support. Because if it just blasts through, then it ain't support. Nobody's buying it. Or people are buying it, but the selling pressure is just too much. Now you are printing bearish or bullish divergence there on the daily. Not yet on the weekly, but the weekly is damn near oversold. So an oversold weekly is just fine to buy for me. It isn't going to call the bottom, most likely, but still, it gives you good places to average in to a long-term hold. Right. Averaging in at those overbought areas is a good place for the long-term investment hold. Yeah, it's starting to get there. But unfortunately, I bought MicroStrategy when it was oversold on the weekly. And it ain't doing it. It's just still oversold. Eventually, it'll stop being oversold. It's just a matter of time, but yeah, I would love for it to get back above $180, as that is where my entry is on the shares that I own. Doesn't look great, and that news could be really, really bad for MSTR, the MSTI news. We pretty much know they're going to say no, or at least that's the rumor. They're going to drop MicroStrategy out of the index because they said they're going to drop all companies that hold more than 50% of their assets in Bitcoin. MicroStrategy holds 95% of their assets are in Bitcoin. Their software company only makes $400 million or is worth $400 million. And then MSTR has about $2 billion in cash reserves. So that makes MicroStrategy's company worth, as far as company and cash holdings, at about $2.5 billion, but they own $60 billion in Bitcoin. So they're 95% of their balance sheet is Bitcoin. So most likely the answer will be yes, we are dropping them from the indexes. Whether or not that kills MSTR in the future, that's yet to be determined. But it's not a great thing. All right, so we'll see what it does, but I'm hoping eventually that the sell side gets exhausted here and you see a nice rally to the upside. I don't know how big it would be, but That may not happen, but that's what I would love to look for with this the chart looking this way, with this structure, right? This was a massive move lower. Massive. Absolutely crazy how fast that thing got repriced down. It doesn't look great. But if Bitcoin bounces out, gets above December's high, and continues to trend up, I expect this will do the same thing. So it is very important for Bitcoin to continue the trend up. But it needs to do it above this. This is the point that pretty much defines whether or not Bitcoin is a trending month for January. It could always change because January could end up becoming a bearish engulfing monthly candle. We know that. But just taking out the high isn't enough for me to have more of a bullish bias for the new year. I need it to get fairly above. Start closing weeklies back above this, and then we'll talk about the bullish bias. On the daily, you're already doing that. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And you're seeing upside continuation. So the bulls are in control of this, and that's a good thing. Because that's the one thing they haven't been able to do for over a few weeks now. Last week closed above resistance. That's what we want to see for upside continuation. That's a breakout and close above. We like that. That's good. Now we want to see this do the same thing. Break out, close above. Incremental baby steps back to the upside would be perfect. All right, let's go look. Since we've had a little bit of time now, let's see what session volume profile looks like now. Yeah, it still looks like it's anybody's game here. That's your entire day range. Very tiny daily range compared to yesterday's range. And the buyers or sellers, the traders are like, the majority of the volume is right dead smack in the middle. So if price stays away from this, you could infer that the buyers are buying the daily midpoint. That's all you can say. Not seeing a huge buildup of volume above this level, but there is sizable nodes up there. And you are overvalued as far as the daily range is concerned, because the daily range is so tight, of course. This will change if price starts to trend away. Same to the downside, right? These value area high, value area low, both of them will change as the day goes on. Unless Bitcoin trades in this range all day, then they won't. But we'll see what happens. That kind of stinks that that's the day low as well. Don't really love that. We'll get a few shares for the long hold. Drew Dickman says VRT had a pullback, bought 162. Let's go look at VRT real quick. Bitcoin looks like it's trying to break out. So if you're a seller here, you should really think about what's going to happen here. This is the day high. Oh, the fact that it came all the way back to the day high, it's tight range, but not great for sellers. Okay, I'm not sure if you're talking about VRT as a stock or if you're talking about it. I'm assuming you're talking about it as a stock. Yeah, looks like you bought last week's low. That's a good place to look to be a buyer. You bought specifically at 162.60. That ain't bad. That ain't a bad trade. Looks like you just basically jumped in on that wick low. Now, clearly here on the 30-minute, the last 2 days have had a lot of bearish momentum. I don't like buying huge bearish momentum, but I did on Euro, right? That's exactly what I did yesterday. I bought huge bearish momentum. Now, that trade, we already paid ourselves. We bought it there yesterday as price traded into this. Wait a minute. Why does it not look? Oh, that's daily res. Okay, never mind. That's the wrong level. Sorry. Here, let me just do this. This is where we bought it. 4-hour support. Dropping back into the 5-minute. There you go. So we saw this fresh day low, and then this this big move back out of the area. So it priced heavily down into that area. If it was going to continue, we would have wanted to see it continue, but it didn't. It reversed, and it reversed hard. So we bought this pullback. We got long as this level was being tested. So as it traded up into the daily 21 exponential, we took profits. Moved our stop to break even, because if it reverses in our face, which it's doing today, we want to pay ourselves for the risk. So yeah, we took profits a little bit before that. We took profits on this 30-minute candle right here. And now the stop is set to break even. So if it reverses in our face, which it did, and comes back and gets us, we still made money on that trade. We have a bearish bias on the dollar, but it will be interesting if the dollar breaks out here. Then that's going to change a lot of biases. Because if you look at what you're doing here, you're still doing nothing. Last month's candle is completely and entirely inside of October's candle. October's candle was a bullish month. So if the dollar cannot break down through here and trend, then this range isn't done yet. It isn't resolved. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to be a seller here for that breakdown anticipation. So yeah, this is it's not great, right? This looks like a weekly expansion up. So we definitely would like to see those sellers come in here lower. And they're just not cutting it. They're just not cutting it here. So, I mean, it could be a trap, but I don't like it. I don't like that this is happening. Your weekly range, there's your weekly high, there's your weekly low. We definitely want to see the sellers show up and push it back lower. If they cannot do that, then we're wrong on our directional bias. It's just so range bound and choppy, and it has been for so long. You have to be quick to take profits, because while you're range bound, it can stay like that, right? For a long time. There is no trend happening. So to stay in a trade expecting a trend when this is playing out, it just isn't the best thing in the world. But we think our positioning is good. We need to see the seller show up, and it doesn't look like they're going to. But time will tell. We need more time. They could show up any minute now. Doesn't look good, but it is what it is. The higher weekly range is what's nerve-wracking about this whole thing. Once we liquidated, we should see downside continuation and start making fresh week lows. We're not doing that, so we have to be a little bit concerned. But we do know overall it is just range bound, so we could get stopped out here. I would still more or less be looking for longs depending on what happens later on. So like right now, it looks like it's breaking down. So if the sellers keep it down below this, then we'll switch our bias and we'll be looking to sell the euro instead of buy it while it is in price discovery. And we'll take profits quickly if we get the move in our direction. That's the way these things work. So is Bitcoin making a lower high here on the daily range? No, okay, so now would I be a buyer down here? No. And the reason is because of what time it is. It's 10:30 in the morning. I don't like taking setups late in the session. Now, if Bitcoin trades sideways for the rest of the day, for instance, like say it gets down here and then rejects or quits going lower and puts in like a couple 4-hour candles up in here, the longer that this support holds, the more I would like the long, maybe like tomorrow, or if it retests support around the London session open tomorrow, I could get long. But today, for the New York day trade long, it ain't here. It never happened. I don't want to take it at 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the day because it's less likely to work out as the most of the volume is already played out. So I'll just leave the short on until I get stopped. But I was hoping it could come down here and then reject, and then I could take that long around the New York Open. It just didn't happen. It will probably be in price discovery most of the day as we suss out this weekly range. The sellers are still hard on, at least on the deltas. Yesterday's POC is heavy with the force. And you can see that as of right now, you have not been able to close, higher time frame candles above this node. Oh, if you struck a line on that node, it would act like resistance. Here, let's do it differently. Let's do this. This is better. It was something like this, right? You can clearly see yesterday's sellers are still strong with the force, though it isn't until you start closing candles up in this area that changes. So even though today's POC isn't moving up there, or you're not seeing heavy sell side pressure today, there was enough of it yesterday to influence price for now. But once again, for the sellers to be right, they dramatically need to start seeing lower lows. As long as you're putting in higher lows, the breakout is threatening. You need those lower lows if you're a seller. You need them. So right here is where we got to see price break through to have any kind of a, sell side move on the daily range. Need to make fresh lows. You're wedging up, right? So gotta come down here. Needs to happen. 23 minutes still on the close of a 4-hour. There's the low. There's a fresh low. That's good. That's what you need to see. At least that needs to happen. 10:30 is not that late. I didn't think it would get down here that quick, but maybe it can now that it's made a fresh low. So maybe sellers will be willing to come in here if it goes back up there, because at least now they're seeing a 30-minute lower low. He's still range bound and choppy, and you can see that on the higher time frames. That's a nice 5-minute expansion. And then XMR still don't love that close. This one will be important. This one will be the 4-hour close, so it's the most important close. Bitcoin rolls over, I would expect support to hold on XMR. Yeah, Zcash still up. Still up. But the sellers literally want to see it down in here. And it can't even get down below this yet. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I'm okay with VR2 at 162, my friend. I like the trade. I like the play. I just don't like the momentum. This is where, if I was looking to buy this, right? If I thought for sure that it was, you know, if I knew what the company did and I wanted to buy it, for instance, that's where I would be looking to put that risk on. Yep. Absolutely. I do not like that it's failing at the monthly open, but still, this could end up being the monthly low. So if you do get that bullish expansion this month, it will look like the perfect entry. That's not, yeah, it's a good place for the long. I like it. Now, only time will decide if the buyers like it or not. I like the reaction. They need to basically keep the momentum though. Otherwise, it'll just be another higher low or lower high. And that's where the Momo is. Long term, there's no momentum on either side because you're kind of all over the place here, right? You had a little bit of bullish momentum last week. This is the first week where we're getting actual trade and trading volumes. So I like the play. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. Know what you're going to lose if it does in fact break down. So Bitcoin putting in that close lower. You are working on the lowest low. And now it's starting to look better for the sells as they got lower highs. And this right here makes an intraday lower low. Or a 930 lower low. The sellers clearly sold the 930 candle and defended. Which is what you want to see if you have a short side bias. The VIX here, look at this. This is so important. It might not seem important, but it is. See what it did? It did make that lower low, but it couldn't trend under it. That is the most important aspect of the lower low. Just making it isn't good enough. It needs to trend under. It is a lower low, but it's still, it's barely a fresh weekly low. It's good though, it's constructive at least. So what we want to see is the sellers hold the open. If the VIX closes up today, it's going to look more and more like the breakout is coming. But we need to see the sellers defend the open today and close down in here would be preferable for upside continuation on risk markets. Which you did kind of get that. This is a good looking candle. It's a good looking daily. You're also coming into the top edge of the expected weekly high. Not a great place to be a buyer. But you really didn't have a great place to be a buyer in the S&P this week unless you bought the cash open. It gapped up and did not fill the gap. The gap fill would have put you back down here. That would have been a potential buying up. Day 21 EMA and all that. You did that on the futures. You just couldn't do it on the cash market. Futures are just infinitely better because they trade 24/5. Infinitely better. I guess many investors are taking profits. Sorry about that. I had to make sure. I guess many investors are taking profits because they capitalize good because of the split. Netflix, yeah. They own 10x more shares now. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yep. You see Jasmine set up in the making of RSI at 91. Yeah. I mean, it's overbought. But this is an exhaustion move. This is an exhaustive move. This is a short squeeze. And short squeezes can last for a long time. That's my concern. And yeah, I mean, you're overbought on the daily even. So the 4 hour is cooking. But would I sell it just based on the RSI? Not really. 95 is much better than 90. But with that being said, I wouldn't chase price at all. I would only be willing to sell here. And the problem with that is last session, they were saying I can only be a seller here. This is a legit breakout, as this level of resistance is now the midpoint of this upside continuation candle. This is a legit breakout. 14 minutes left on this close. So I don't love the short setup here. Yeah, it's probably getting a little bit extended, and I'm sure retail has been selling it ever since it started moving up. They've probably been selling. And that's why it's going up and up and up and up and up. They are the liquidity that's causing this to go higher. So I don't love the short setup at 90. It's just too much bullish momentum. And remember, upside risk is far, far riskier because there's no limit as to how far it can go up. It can go up 1,000,000%. You can only go down 100%. That's why it's never really favored to be a seller, especially when there's a shitload of bullish momentum. But yeah, if it could continue rejecting 4 hour highs, which is now the daily high, then maybe you could justify a short trade here and a profit target there. You can't expect a nasty breakdown. I wouldn't put on a short here at 96 and expect a 550 run. That's most likely not going to happen. But what is potentially possible is that it bounces off of this and pulls back into here. So you could set that trade up for that. But it has to, for me, be at least a 2.5% move. And it is. It's a 7% move. So yeah, you could set this trade up. Short, take profit. Now let's go intra candle and see if that's happened yet. Not yet. Not yet. And it just made fresh highs just like this candle. So yeah, I mean, it's a risky trade, bro. It is super risky. Maybe if this 30-minute candle makes a fresh 30-minute low, Then you can watch for the short entry. If it doesn't make a fresh 30-minute low, then the next 30-minute candle could literally look like this. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if this candle takes out this low, then look for the pullback into here for the short. And then maybe you get that move down to here. But right now, it doesn't look great for the short. Okay, so we did get Bitcoin moving down into the area, not quite low enough that I wanted. I wanted to see a 93,205 test at a minimum and a rejection lower from this point. But still early. I definitely don't want to see a bearish engulfing 4-hour candle. And that could happen. There's 10 minutes left on this candle. You could see 2 5-minute bearish candles that could drop down into here easily. Let's see what this is doing. Still holding support. Oof. 10 minutes on this close. These sellers right here might be on the wrong side of this. They were really hoping to see the close down in here. So now that it probably ain't happening, I can't take the short. Because now it's not a supply setup. It's literally a buying up. A little bit lower than the midpoint, and the buyers jumped on it. And why not? It's got a lot of bullish momentum. But that doesn't look great. Where is the Rizzy? Oh, Rizzy's back to almost overbought. So yeah, I don't love it. Don't love the short. What's Zachary doing on the Rizzy? Yeah, it's a buying a hop, dude. Oh, 30 minutes, sorry. It was a buying op. You see that? So this is a perfect learning opportunity here. Beautiful learning opportunity. So remember, I wanted to see the breakdown from here based on structure, and it didn't happen, and then boom, I'm stopped out. Now what's happened? The structure's completely changed here. Also, look what happened through here. As that breakout happened, there's your 50 retest, there's your 50 breakout, there's your 50 pullback, there's your bullish opportunity right there. You buy that price. This candle closed under the level. I get it. But I have a bullish bias as long as price is not under this level. So literally when I say this is your buy zone, your buy price, you can buy a wick all the way down to here. You just cannot be a buyer if that wick drops under this line. So had you been awake at 3 a.m., you could have literally bought the London session. That's like an absolute flawless setup. Take profit would have been right here. and it fits. 3% move. So yeah, this is why you're seeing such a significant pullback on this candle, because everybody that bought this setup took profits as price exploded in through those highs. The sell orders started firing right in here. Boom, 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 boom. So price pulls back, but it's still bullish. The pullback is a buying up, and it's a higher low buying up. So as long as ZEC isn't down in here, it's a buying up. You got 6 minutes on this close. So now on the next candle open, people are going to be buying right here. I necessarily wouldn't, because, yeah, now the trade has already happened. But, I mean, I still, as long as it holds, I could, right? If I'm anticipating a bigger upside move. This is last week's open, by the way. It's not this week's open. So, I don't love buying here, taking profits there, because it's already happened. The move's already happened. The best setup was at the London session open. That happens sometimes, but this is a keep on your mind setup. Like, always remember that. This candle right here, this was the breakout. This was the trigger. This set the alerts to buy. When this candle opened, it pulled back. Algos hit the fire button. Buy, 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 buy. Boom. That's what you're looking for. These are the best opportunities. Then when you get your move, you take profits and move your stop to break even. This way, if you do get an upside continuation, a breakout move, and you see upside push, that trade will ultimately pay you more money than this first setup does. So it's not, it's twofold. It's the icing on the cake. Those are the trades that end up doing real good. They make your whole year. So it's not that I'm not like predicting what price would do at all. It's just seeing the setup happen and taking the risk. That's all I'm doing. But obviously all these setups won't work. You will get stopped out because there will be times when this setup, it's also you're getting long right into a key resistance level. The yearly open, but obviously they were okay with it because that's what happened. So yeah, that would have been a beautiful setup. It just didn't happen in New York. But we do catch these setups in New York. So Bitcoin retesting last year's open. People are trying to buy that. VIX is back to up on the day. Oh, I don't think I would be buying that. Not with the VIX back to up on the day. That looks like a liquidation of yesterday's and a rejection. Also, dollar is making fresh day highs. Just not a lot of stuff that looks good for Bitcoin to have the breakout today. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a better setup. I mean, it is quite overbought, right? We do want to see it pull back a little bit. Oh, I don't know that you'll get a full-on pullback back to the 50. I don't think I would want to see that either. But the weekly open is down here, so in theory, if it does pull back that deep, I could still be a buyer. I wouldn't love the setup intra week, but the setup on the month would be fine. If it can hold, obviously. So you got 1 minute left. So you're not going to close as a bearish engulfing, it doesn't look like. So that's good. There's not a lot of sellers happening here. Hey, Trade Talk, can you look at AMKR? I absolutely can. I absolutely can. AMKR. Amcor Technology. Never heard of it. Let's give it a look-see. It is extremely bullish here. We have looked at this. This is, what is this? I can't remember what it is, but we did see this before. Obviously, I would have been very hesitant about being a buyer up here around that. But yeah, December was bullish. It closed under the midpoint. I wouldn't have loved that, but I could have still been a buyer all the way down to there. The fact that you gapped up and literally took off meant I probably would have missed it. But yeah, it's breaking out. Is this the play on metals? Rare earths? Yeah, it's extremely, extremely bullish here. I wouldn't be interested in selling it. And the monthly RSI means nothing to me. I do not look at monthly RSIs. And the reason is because there are assets that have been trading in a oversold region for a year and a half on the monthly. So, yeah, it's clearly overbought. It's way too expensive to be a buyer. You need a significant correction to be a buyer on this. But now that the bear's back's against the walls, it could be a scalpable trading asset. Now that you've got a lot of volatility and you're seeing a lot of price movement. A lot of that movement is coming after hours, unfortunately. I mean, hell, that's over a $2, $3 move there. There's plenty of range in the days to look for scalps. But, I mean, it's getting pretty crazy. When you start trading things that that look like this, it's just random, right? Some trades will work, some trades won't. There's too much momentum, too much volatility for technical analysis to give you anything here. But as long as you're trading above December's open, I think it could stay bullish. You're way above that, so I doubt you see that anytime soon. Next thing to watch will be the yearly open, and it will be the thing to watch all year long. Pullbacks into that region, maybe they get bought up. If investors think this has got more to go, they will buy the year open. If they don't, they won't. So there's nothing you can do up here. Yeah, it took off. It's been trending higher for a long time. Candles started getting crazy here. Yeah, let it pull back. It's got to pull back to the 21 to test to see if the buyers are legit. Because this could just be near-term momentum scalpers driving price action. So you need to see that pullback and you need to see those buyers show up. Daily 21 retests would be a little bit more risky. But, I mean, it built in support here for many, many days. Many, many days. This is what I want to see happen. Sometimes you will buy these setups at support and you will get stopped out. But at least the momentum is to the upside here. So you see this? This right here looks really good. You want to be a buyer at daily support in these opportunistic areas. And then if the buyers are really there, you get the breakout. It looks good. It looks good. I don't see any reason for it to stop. There was a previous monthly swing high breakout here. Last month broke out, retraced. This month, upside continuation. This is good. This is what you want to see for the breakout to be real. Now, you're not breaking out of all-time highs, obviously, but the chart looks good. Looks really good. Just extremely extended. So let it pull back into a price and build in a long-term support. Like weeks of sideways price action when it stops going down. If it continues to go down, then that's not really what you want to buy into either. Let's see if next week can trade inside of this week's range. Let's see if that can happen first. Other than that, you're buying an extremely overbought asset at $45. Same scenario on the 4 hour. You know what I mean? Exact same scenario happened here. The bears are in control of price as long as you're under the weekly RSI 50. Your breakout is here. Boom, boom. Then you get 3 weeks of pullback. Pullback, pullback, pullback. Viable opportunity. That week's low and above. And it got front ran, so you probably missed it. No, you wouldn't have missed it because this week did make a fresh weekly low. Now, if this happened early in the week, that would have been good. You did make a fresh weekly low, and you did test the 50, you did hold. So as long as price is trading above this point, not under it, above it, you can buy it. Those are good opportunities. They won't always work, so keep that risk mitigated. Sometimes this week will open, do that, give you a small bounce, and then dump, right? That happens. But that is the opportunistic area. Looks like the daily put in a bear trap on the 50. Bear trap right on the 50. So this was still overbought there. That would have not been great, but still it held. I don't see where I could have, hindsight, even looked and got in. It would have been difficult for me to be a buyer on this day because it was closing under that near-term daily support, and it didn't give you a full-on retest of this daily support. So given that fresh breakdown and how it closed, chances are I would not have bought it. But the 21 daily is right here too, so there's that. I still don't think I would have been able to buy. I think I probably would have missed out on it. I would have thought this was a breakdown, and I would have been too concerned with the next day gap down. So chances are this trap would have, even if I would have been watching it for a setup, I probably would have missed it. In reality, I'm not even gonna act like I could have caught that, because I couldn't have. That was a very effective bear trap. It was a very effective bear trap. Now, a thing that we could have said had we been watching it, like if you would have brought it to my attention and everything would have been lined up perfectly, we would have looked at it pre-market and I would have said, well, it's gapping up above that swing high, so that's a trap. So if we can buy a pullback on the open, we could theoretically buy a pullback as low as 40.41. But even then, that didn't happen. So we would have still missed the trade. But this is a gap and go because it gaps up above the bear trap. So all the shorts that took this trade were stuck when they came to the market the next day. And that's why the gap and go worked so good. Very, very effective bear trap. We would not have been able to catch this trade even if we would have been looking at it. But yeah, there it is. Yeah, it looks okay, but I don't want to get involved at these prices. You're overbought on the daily, overbought on the weekly. It's just overbought. This was the move. This would have been the move right here. And they got it good. That got probably knocked a lot of retail traders out of it. That happens. It even happens to the best traders. It's because we can't see into the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but we hope to get those opportunistic areas and times. So XMR did ultimately close up. People are still going to be looking for the sell on this. I am not. The structure has completely changed. Okay. The structure has completely changed. What I would need to see before I can start looking for shorts on this again is I need to see it start closing dailies back under the 21. As long as it's closing dailies above the 21, I would be looking for long opportunities. As long as today doesn't close bearish, I think the trade is higher on this on the near term. You're still well above the weekly 21 as well. This was a weekly 21 retest. And front ran, you're higher. You're still trading above this open, so it still looks fine. Of course, sellers will be selling it here, just not me. I tried, I shot my shot, got smoked. And we're gonna leave this one alone for a few days and see what happens to it. The only trade to make on it is up. And same goes for this. Like I said, people are going to be buying. I don't love the idea of buying it here, but I mean, it's the 2026 yearly open. Bulls are in control of volume here. Oh, if it fails to go lower, it's probably going higher. I hate that close. That close is ugly. Very disgusting. But yeah, see what happens with it. All right, Bitcoin still hasn't broken down. The sellers really have the deltas now. I mean, it's not downside continuation style deltas, but it's still basically neutral. If the sell deltas get under 572, then I would anticipate that you probably see a retest of the December open. As long as the deltas stay above that, I would say the next day is probably a buying opportunity. The sellers have it right where they want it. They should be able to get downside continuation, or at the bare minimum, make a fresh day low. It looks like the sellers won the day. It's not a big enough move to do anything with. I'm only up $70 on that trade. Only up $70. Okay, AMKR, that's what we just looked at. Okay, got it. I was looking at the Discord. Good morning, Janet. You like the thumbnail? Thank you very much. AI, it's amazing. Yeah, okay, so AMKR, I'm assuming that's you in the Discord. We looked at it. It's a little bit overbought. It's coming into November open. Wait, Jasmine set up in the making, RSI 91. Okay, and then you're saying it's coming into the November open, quarterly open above, so I'm watching those levels. And that's Jasmine. Jasmine was a little bit overbought. I don't love the short. He's looking at legit levels though. So first off quarter open, way up there. Okay, wait. Okay, so you're saying the November open. Yeah, but you're way above December's high. So yeah, it does kind of make sense that you could see resistance here given the oversold or overbought nature of it already on the daily. And sellers will try to sell on that. I don't know if that you'll be into the 50 up there, but yeah, you're massively oversold on the daily. So yeah, maybe wait for price to get up into that area before you start looking for that. Even then, I wouldn't love it, but up there, if you get up there soon, because it's already pulling back here on this 4-hour downside move, if you could stop, if this thing would stop going lower and start pushing back to the highs in this 4-hour candle, you could get into the 92, 93. But I mean, it's up. This isn't a low float low. It's not like usually a ginormous mover. So 90 is a legit, like, it's getting a bit overdone, overcooked. It's also a big fig number. It's literally 1 penny. Perfect. Big fig number. Anybody that bought at, half of a penny would likely take profits at a penny. That would be 100% move. But we'll see. We'll see what it does. One thing to keep in mind when shorting alts is dominance. As long as it's, if it's done going down, which it doesn't look like it is, then maybe alt shorts can work out better. But as long as it's pushing into the lows and continuing, that means alts can stay strong. And if you don't want to look at dominance, look at total 2 or total 3 or others. Those are all going to tell you the same thing, right? Altcoins are doing pretty damn good here. It looks like they're rejecting December's high as well. They are. Okay. Oh, yeah. If this continues, I could be a seller. If this was a tradable asset, I could be a seller here. But I would need to see that rejection continue to hold. Because this could be a fresh breakout occurring as well. I mean, oh, we're on the monthly. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it needs to break out here. So this will be a very important week on the total 2 chart. This has got Ethereum in it too. I guess the total 3 chart would be the better one to look at, because this just excludes Bitcoin. This one excludes Bitcoin and ETH. And this one looks better because you are trading above the December high still. So that looks good. Yeah, you've accumulated up there. So if that continues to happen, that could be a good sign for alts. But if you lose this and then it acts as resistance, you're still under this. So bears are still in control. It's when you're above that, you can no longer say it. Closing above that, you can no longer say that, but they are trying to jump on the short here. Oh, I did Alt V. I need to do Alt H. $92.6. So 8.5. We got 6.5. Where did it go? All right, screw you then. I'll just do the best I can. Right there looks good. Okay. This will be a huge level for the bears to hold. Huge. You've got the 50, you're still under. If it gets up in here, it looks like the sellers are losing. But if it can stay under, you can make the argument that the sellers are showing up here now. So with this, I can make the argument that on the really overbought ones, maybe you could start looking for shorts. So Jasmine would be one. Yeah. Because it is massively overcooked here. What else is massively overcooked? Pingu, probably. Nope. What was other one? Pepe. It's already pulled back. Bonk was, but it's also already pulling back. I wouldn't anticipate a lot of downside continuation. Jasmine is literally up 23% today. So I could make the argument on Jasmine. It doesn't look like they're going to even give you that short op at the previous 4-hour high. Yeah, they tagged it at 30-minute res. Still didn't make that lower low, though. I think I would want to see that first before putting the risk on. So we'll keep an eye on it. If it can make a lower low, then we can look for a pullback into here for the short entry. It'll be a little bit harder to get the entry, but I would rather miss a trade than chase it and get stopped out of it. I would rather miss it. Absolutely. And this I hate that had so much bullish momentum and it was instantly driven down. But if it could hold, I hate buying 509 too, but yeah, it's just not my freaking cup of tea. The best trade would have been earlier today. It's hard to make the argument to get in it up here, but it is structured back to bullish. So I can buy a ZEC if it refuses to go lower than these lows in here. This is that 4-hour low, so I don't want to see a lower low. If it doesn't make this lower low, I could put on a long on Zcash. But I don't love the trade. The only reason I could do that is because it's the yearly open. And this structure has completely changed. The limit buy would be in and around 510, 511 with a very tight stop at 508. That might not be that tight of a stop on this asset. Let's see. Yeah, it's okay. It's just late. It's also late in the session, so I don't like putting on new entries, but I'm just talking out loud for anybody that is still looking for entries. Obviously, the best trades are taken as close to the New York Open as possible, or as close to the London Open as possible, or as close to the Asian Open as possible. Those are your best times to look for entries forever and always. When you get out of those times, the entries just don't work as good because you don't have an influx of new volume. Your volume is actually drying up as the day goes on. And now you're starting to see the sellers actually try to push here. Let's see what they can do at this swing low. This is a fresh day low here. 4-hour support. There is trending volume deltas. It's not big volume deltas, but they are trending. VIX is back to red on the day. If it could get under yesterday's open, I would like, or yesterday's close, I would like that better for the long here. Also, time of day is the issue. Also, overbought and pulling back, but this is when you should be buying pullbacks. Just a little late. Just a little late. Let's see if it can blast through or if it fails. We'll give it maybe 2 or 3 more. We'll give it a 30 minutes or so and see what happens, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, so if you got any questions, drop them in the chat. Good morning, Heath. Like the thumbnail. Oh, read that. Thank you, Janet. It's coming into November. Read that. SUIUSDT. I forgot that one, KF. Let me go get it. SUI. I read that earlier. I just completely forgot about it. Sorry. I thought I had that one on watch. There it is. Oh. There it is. Okay, what did you say? Your thoughts on SUI USD, please. Okay. So my thoughts are the same as everything right now. Everything looks good, but it's like this actually looks really good. This is above, well above December's high. Now, obviously, I don't like that wick, but we caught that wick. So I loved it that day. But I mean, it ruins the chart. Those huge wicks, they make the chart hard or very unreadable sometimes. But this is the way I look at it. You are advancing above December's high. If that trend could continue, then I would obviously have more bullish optimism for SUI moving on. If it can't stay above December's high, then it feels like that was just a liquidation run. Okay. Now, with that being said, the weekly is still extremely weak here, but breaking out. December's high is also around the midpoint of this weekly candle's range. So the bulls really need to defend December's high. They really do. If they can do that, then I would like it for upside continuation. If they can't do that, then everything changes. So on the month, as of right now, it looks really good. And on the week, as of right now, it looks really good. So here's the week open. Now we can analyze this chart. We got to change this to green. So right now, the structure looks really good. There's a little bit of downside momentum coming in here. That's okay, as it got super overbought. It was up in the 90s as well. Not quite to 90, but it got super close. So it makes sense that you're seeing a little bit of bearish momentum show up here, as sellers have been selling it since it broke out here. This is where sellers would have been looking to put the short position on. All of them, not just me. All of them. So now that it's run out of momentum and it's starting to get some momentum to the downside. So I don't love buying this momentum to the downside. I need to see support build in somewhere. If it can't build in here, I would watch what happens when it gets down into here. If it can build in support here, then I could start structuring that trade around that support. There is nothing to do on it today or right now. But moving forward, if it can hold December's high, I would love to see it continue to hold that for upside continuation. I would be a long biased scalper on it. a long bias scalper. And I definitely do not want to see it lose weekly open. If it breaks below the December open, this is the last line of defense for the bulls to kick in here and pick this back up. If they can't do that, then it starts to look like just a liquidation run. And that's what we don't want to see. So give it some time, see if it can build in support at one of these levels, and then maybe look to attack it. Hopefully this gets back in line, or at least a little bit out of the overbought metric. Oh, Euro USD still pushing on fresh day lows. Still a trending candle to the upside, but it definitely doesn't look great. I don't want to see it lose the 21 on a daily closing basis. But if it does, like I said, we'll short the shit out of it. We don't care which direction Euro wants to go. One of the guys that I've got a lot of respect for, his name is James Stanley. He writes articles for Forex.com and some other company, I can't remember, but he's an actual trader as well. And he does a lot of the same analysis that I do. He looks at objective levels, but he applies a lot of Fibonacci levels and stuff like that. He is also very very cautious right here to see what the dollar does. And he thinks the better long setups for dollar weakness is pound dollar. He thinks this is a very difficult area for the euro based on some macro stuff that I don't care about. But anyways, he thinks the better setup is on the pound dollar for dollar weakness trade. So you would be looking for long dollars or long pound USD setups. Now, the problem is it would have been yesterday or the day before, right? You're now starting to look okay. As long as this doesn't full on retrace back under the October open, you can see upside continuation on this. But you can see why the sellers are showing up. You're into monthly res, you're into last month's high. That's enough to bring sellers into this. Now, I don't love the short setup because you liquidated that monthly swing high last month already. Now you've liquidated last month's high. So it feels like the pressure is to the upside. This month just opened. So as long as the monthly open can hold, I would have a bullish bias myself on pound USD. Now, if the dollar breaks back out to the upside, that's going to shift the bearish narrative driving the dollar right here. Not so much this trend line, just the range that it's in. It's stuck inside the range. The main range of the dollar is August's high and July's low, which now would be September's low. So this is your main range on the dollar. And that range has collapsed into a tighter range, being October. So I still like dollar weakness, but if the dollar breaks out above August highs, then the bias completely shifts on the dollar. Then we have an upside bias. So it's literally anybody's game as long as the dollar's trading inside of December's range. It's the seller's game or the buyer's game. It's anybody's game still. But the macro does kind of support dollar weakness with rate cuts and very dovish Fed, because the Chair Powell is getting kicked out this year, and it's going to be in Q2 when that happens, most likely. And then his seat will be reserved for a very dovish person. Now, that doesn't really matter a whole lot because there are 12 votes. And it's not just the chair's vote. But still, the chair has a lot of sway in the voting. But with that being said, the macro does support a bearish or a weaker dollar. But this price action here, the first 2 days of the real week, as long as you're trading under yesterday's high, I think the dollar goes lower. Above this, then things start to change on the near term. It isn't until you get above this up here that things start to change on the macro as well. So technically speaking, you can still be a bear as long as you're trading under this on the dollar. And that's my analysis too. So give him a watch when he does his live streams. He is dramatically like underappreciated. That man should have thousands of people watching his streams if they have any hopes of becoming a professional Forex trader. Like, he is a great follow. Great follow, great stuff. We'll see what happens with the dollar long term, but it does look like we are about to eat a stop on it if it continues to push into fresh day highs. Weekly high is up here, so we're still good, but my positioning isn't that good. It isn't really that great because my positioning is 4-hour support, which is in here. It's actually a little bit higher based on the spread. And I had to chase the wick a little bit. So my entry is actually in here. It's really close to getting stopped out. We already made money on it, so it's okay if I eat the stop. It's just I would like not to get stopped out because it was a damn good place to look for long entries if the dollar is going to roll over. But I probably should have been looking for that entry on the pound instead of the euro based on his analysis. So let me go look real quick and see if I would have even been able to get long. Yes, I would have been. Well, no, I would. Maybe. I have to go into the hourly to see. Because these 4-hour candles are different. They happen at 5, 9, and 1. 5, 9, and 1. Bitcoin's 4-hour candles are 3, 11, and 4. 3, 7, 11. 3, 7, 11, 3, 7, 11. That's Bitcoin's 4-hour candle closes. So let's go into the hourly and see real quick if we could have got in on the pound, and it would have been before the New York Open. But we did get the test. It would have been before. So I took the trade around 9:30, almost 10, which would have put the pound up here. So I don't know if I would have been able to get that. If I would have noticed it before I went live, I would have. Because this is where I would have took the long. It's the same price level that I took the long on the euro. The same reasoning, same everything. The only difference is timing. Timing was a little bit earlier. So going into the euro hourly. No, it happened at 9. Okay. Okay, that makes it a little bit more interesting. $9.30 is when I took it. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have caught the pound. I wouldn't have caught it. Maybe I could have just... I would have felt like I was chasing it at that point. The best entry would have been 134.281. I probably would have missed it. I would have missed it, even if I was looking at it. I could have justified the October Open, but it would have felt like chasing, especially since this was the day high. It would have felt like chasing. Oh, that was, yeah, it was the day high. Yeah, I would not have took that long. Nope. This one, yes. because it justifies the target. 41 pips. I think the target on the euro was 25 pips or 20 pips. No, we got a lot more out of it though. No, we didn't. We took profits early. Yeah, about 30 pips was our upside target on the pound or on the euro. So targeting was there, just timing was not. Timing was not. So anyways, I'm saying all this because if you still have dollar weakness bias, you can see that the structure here on the pound is definitely up. It is definitely trending up. Let's put this where it should be. And this has to go one more. Yeah, I could make the argument that if the pound refuses to go lower, but it's the timing not good. Not good. So if it can hold support in this area, maybe tomorrow or around the London session, you could make the argument for longs on pound in this area. The sellers are in control, but that doesn't always matter with Forex. I think the sellers were in full control of the euro yesterday. Let's look. Yes, they were. So when I bought it, the sellers were in full control of volume. This did not look like a good long. I even said that during the stream. I was like, I don't like this long, but sometimes the best trades are the ones that you don't like to put on. And it literally worked out like that. I may already be stopped out of it. I don't know. I don't think I chased it that high. But it doesn't really matter. We already got paid. We'll see what it does. All right. So Bitcoin is moving now. So this is what I did not want to see. But like I said, you don't want to buy the level if you just blast through it. And you did literally do just that. You blasted right through it. Now the sellers are getting into profit target areas. 169, not quite there for me. I'm under position, so I won't be able to take profits on it. But there it is. There's the entry. And continuation. Coming into another support zone down here, but I mean, profit target, if you got it, take it. If you got the money, or if you're in the profits, take them. It's not big enough for me to take profits here. It's got to be double that for me to take profits. So I'm going to need Bitcoin to come all the way down to here, and I don't think that's going to happen. It could happen, but we'll see. We'll see what it does. But anyway, there's that. Those sellers won the day, or at least they're winning the day right now. What was we going to watch? We were going to watch for a little bit. I don't remember which one it was. Was it this one? Then why? I don't know. Okay, Farcoin finally running out of steam. I don't even remember which one I said we were going to watch. I feel like it was Zcash because of the yearly open. Yeah, it was Zcash. Okay. So as long as you're trading above this, I like it higher. If it breaks down below that, I no longer like it higher and would potentially be looking to put the short back on in the middle of the week on this. I don't like this price action. This looks like just literally a stop run or a bull trap. But we'll see if the buyers show up here again. Also, the trade was this morning down here. But if the buyers can hold the line here, I might be willing to put that long on. Especially now that Bitcoin is breaking down. Not really breaking down, let's be fair to Bitcoin. It's got a long ways to go. You're just now getting back into midpoint checks territory here. Now, if you take this out down in here, that's going to look really, really bad for Bitcoin. And then obviously I would hold that short. If you take out the weekly open and make fresh weekly lows, it's going to feel like yesterday was the weekly high. And that would change everything. But that has to happen. As long as this doesn't get taken out, I still have an upside bias on Bitcoin, regardless what it does today. So sellers are going to want to see this level smoked by the end of the day. You can see on the 4 hour, you got a long ways to go to get there. Real quick, let me actually give you the link for anybody that isn't following him. They have several people that do videos and live streams, but this is the guy right here. He's the guy. He's good. If you like Forex trading, give him a follow. He's also on Twitter. He's on Twitter. And got quite a few followers, so he's good at what he does, guys. Give him a follow. If you like Forex trading is another way to supplement your income. It's a little bit more difficult than crypto because it doesn't trade as technical, and there's a lot of, games that gets played with price and stuff like that, but there is still this analysis absolutely works in Forex. This style of trading. Absolutely. Oh, on what time frame? Entries on daily time frame. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, we looked at AKMR. Did you miss it? We did look at it. It was super bullish. Wait, did we? AMKR. Yeah, this is the one we looked at. It's just super overbought. I can't do anything with it up here. If it comes back into the yearly opening test at any point in the year, like it could be June, November, anytime, if it ever comes back into here, I'd be interested in seeing if the buyers can defend that area. I can't do anything with it up here. It's way too overbought. And there's way too much bullish momentum on it because they put in a flawless bear trap on last Wednesday. Absolute picture perfect bear trap. But this is just too much momentum to get involved in. I don't know if it's a precious or not precious metals, but like rare earth metals play, or rare earth, maybe not metals, but just rare earths. If it's that, just see what happens at $40. If it can hold there, I'd be a buyer there in the future. All right, and then Johnny Utah says, I'm thinking about going huge long on SNDK right now. A huge long. I never like to hear people say that. You should never risk more on any asset than you would normally risk. And I definitely would not be going in with a huge long at an overbought asset. You're putting in huge bearish divergence here. And that's because you put in bearish divergence last week. A lot of people wait for the fresh all-time high or the fresh high before they call it divergence, but it's not what makes the divergence. What makes the divergence is the higher close, because you get a higher close than the previous close, but the RSI is saying that it is not as much momentum. So it's just what people, it's just a preference call. You can either wait for the fresh high before you give it a divergence call, or you can wait for the higher close. Doesn't matter, same thing. Now, anyways, last week was divergence. So anybody that shorted last week because of bearish divergence, obviously they're stopped out this week. There is no way that I would be a buyer up here, especially with a huge position. Nope. Because all this thing has to do is pull back, and you're red, hugely red, just by simply pulling back. It doesn't even have to crash. Now, I don't know what this is, SNDK. I have no clue. I don't know what they do, what's going on, or why it is absolutely ripping to the moon. But it used to trade for $40. It is now trading for multiples of that. Doesn't mean it'll stop. It just doesn't look like a good investment now, to me. To me, you asked what my opinion is. My opinion is you need to wait for a consolidation that takes a lot of time. Then be a buyer on the low edge of that consolidation. Now, last month, you did get that consolidation. You traded inside November's range. As long as that's the case, you can make the argument that you could be a buyer at November's low or just above. Right? Because you did get a multi-week consolidation in here. So we would have been watching weekly support above November's high. And we would have been looking to target our long entries at 183 or higher. The best entry that I can see just by looking at the weekly chart would have been here, when you liquidated the prior week's low. I would not have loved to buy an asset that was at overbought. But I still could have made the argument for the long entry. And for that, we could have put on a day trade, not a super long, everything I own long on it. It would just simply have been a 1% risk. The same size risk I put on every trade. Okay? That's my opinion and how I would have traded it if I would have traded it. But now the breakout is happening, the short squeeze is happening, so the short squeeze could continue to happen, and it can stay overbought for a long time. It got overbought here. And it has been overbought until here. So it can do this again. It can keep going. I can't tell you if it's going to go higher or not. It can. And it could also literally pull back to 183. I would not want to see that for the bullish momentum case. For the bullish momentum case, I would want to see it hold here if I was looking to trade it for bullish momentum. If I'm looking for an investment, I have to see it hold support here. Have to see it. But there's nothing to do with it now, right this second. We would be taking profits on this, not entering new positions. And I definitely don't like the short. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think you gotta wait for it to consolidate again. People think this will never happen again. They honestly think they're gonna miss it. You have missed it. You've missed it. You missed it a long time ago. You're not gonna miss it now. I don't think this asset is better than Bitcoin. I don't know what it is, but the chart looks great. Looks great. Big, long, rounding bottom and then explosion up. So wait for that to happen again. And then look for the same thing to happen. If they make money. If they don't make money, this is just momentum scalpers. We can find out if they make money real quick. All we got to do is look it up on FinViz. Real quick, SNDK. SanDisk. What's in the tech sector? Hardware. SanDisk. These people make what? Memory? They make money. Just not really. Their market cap is 49 billion, but their income is negative 1.7 billion. So even though they had 7 billion in sales, they're still negative 1.7 billion in sales. The only thing that justifies this chart is if this number keeps going down. Like if it goes down from 1.74 billion to down 1.72 billion, then 1.7, then 1.6. If that's happening, then they are making money. Other than that, I mean, I hate buying anybody that doesn't make money. This could just be literal trading volumes. It doesn't look like it is. It looks like this was a legit accumulation and a legit bullish move. So clearly there's some hype behind this thing. But I can't buy hype. That's when pros are taking profits. Let this thing pull back again. A perfect example of showing you that things do pull back, things do consolidate, is gold. Gold had some of the best pullbacks in 2025 that we got involved in. We literally bought gold down here because it had a multi-month consolidation. Look at this chart. Literal beautiful. You can't get no better than that. You're range bound in a multi-month range and making higher monthly lows. Boom, boom, boom. How do you not get involved in that? So we bought gold. Gold exploded to the upside. This will happen again on gold. It will happen again on every asset. It will. It happened for a very long time down here. But if you missed that consolidation, you had a chance to buy this consolidation. This consolidation. This consolidation. this consolidation, and lastly, this consolidation. But wait for the next consolidation to be a buyer and watch that first monthly swing low. You need to see this defended. If it is not defended, the bulls are giving up. It's as simple as that. You're consolidating on the weekly, but I would rather see a month, several months of consolidation. And I want to see that low defended. But it's so overbought, and it has been so overbought now that it could take a while for it to even get into a consolidational range. You could be consolidating right now, but not going to buy it up there. Down here, maybe. Maybe it doesn't make another lower monthly low. If it doesn't, well, then this low should, in theory, be defended, as it didn't make a lower monthly low last time it consolidated. So these are the two massive areas that people are going to be watching on gold. And this area is just a little bit too high. All right, let that other asset do that first. Because here's the thing, if it can't consolidate, if it does start taking out monthly lows, you don't want to be involved in it. You don't want to be involved in it. Higher low, higher low. Right now, higher low. So all of these lines that we have on this chart, right? So many. We can literally get rid of everything. I'm not going to get rid of the yearly opens because I'm trying to make a point. As long as this low does not get smoked with continuation lower, Bitcoin is consolidating. So on a structural standpoint, the consolidation doesn't look good because it's happening after a big breakdown move, right? But it did here too. Now, this is a bear trap. It literally is. Or a bear flag, sorry. So it don't look good, right? Oh shit, here. Doesn't look good. So everybody and their brother is going to be watching this one price. Obviously, they'll be watching December's open and the yearly open. Obviously, those are all areas to watch. Because price will tell you something. It will tell you. It was not strong enough to stay above December's high. So if the bulls can't hold it here or here, then clearly this is the last line of defense. They lose this, then your bear flag is breaking down. Here's your bear flag. There's your pole. Here's your flag. So if this holds and then you break down below this and then all this, it's going to look like a breakdown. That will cause more selling. So this is literally all we need to look at on Bitcoin. As long as we're above this, we can have a bullish bias as it's consolidating. We don't know that the consolidation is going to cause the breakout to the upside, but it is consolidating. That's the best we have right now, unfortunately, for Bitcoin. It is consolidating. So if the buyers are going to buy, they're going to be buying here. So that's why literally my community have been watching December's high, and this was where the sell should have been put on yesterday. So if you were a seller on Bitcoin, you should have been selling it yesterday. The only reason we were looking for the short today was if you missed it yesterday. And every time I go live, I try to find a trade to put on. So I couldn't buy it because it was up at the highs. I had to sell it, right? Not what I wanted to do, but that's what I had to do. So this is the price that's going to determine whether or not Bitcoin is strong or weak. If it stays under this, doesn't matter. Sellers are going to start hitting it at lower highs as it goes on. So Bitcoin really needs to defend these large levels. These are the 4 large levels that it must hold. Because you do have a bear flag on the structure. So it will look bad the more time it puts in under this. It will look really bad. So that's why it's so important and vital for me to see a breakout and then a pullback, and that pullback needs to hold. Otherwise, my whole structurally, like my whole analysis will shift on Bitcoin. The macro supports that the bulls buy the lows, right? The macro does support that. So now we need the chart to start showing us that's what is happening. And it just isn't yet. It isn't showing us yet. It looks really good now. Started to rally going into very late December and then early January. That's a real good look. So now we need to see those buyers creep up. This is going to be the first real line of defense for Bitcoin to hold on a pullback. So price could come all the way back down to here as discovery is still taking place. And if Bitcoin does hold between 94 and 90, that will be more positive. And that will have buyers buying these lows every time it comes in to that area. But it needs to hold it. Needs to hold it. This is not a huge down day by any stretch of the imagination. You're still very bullish on the daily chart. Today's not bullish, but you haven't taken out yesterday's low yet. You got to do that. If it can't do that, that'll look really good for upside continuation. We'll see what it does. Dollar weakness would go a long way in helping Bitcoin bulls, I think. So we would like to see this stop going down. And then as far as these two things trading inversely to Bitcoin, they really aren't. They just did in November, as November was the month that Bitcoin broke down. So that's, Bitcoin was extremely bearish in November. Both of these were extremely bullish in November. Extremely bullish. You put in the all-time high. You didn't hold the midpoint, so that looked bad. But then in December, you put in a lower low and closed up on the highs. But right now, this is consolidating. It's consolidating in November's range. I wanted to see this act as resistance, but it didn't. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But very bullish, whereas Bitcoin was not. It did the opposite. But it doesn't look great under that low. We'll see what happens. Now, we can also look at a couple other metrics. We can look at the long-term holders. This is a free website, free chart. As long as they're not selling as hard as they were, I like Bitcoin to go up. If they start coming in here and selling it hard again, then I would expect more downside on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is a buyable asset long term as low as 50K. And because I think that is where the 200 simple moving average is on the weekly time frame. So all the way down here. Another thing that I love is that the 200 simple is above 50K. So I think this is a very good value proposition area for Bitcoin. And if you did break down from this structural pattern that you have on the chart, right? If this stays intact, you have a measured move. You see that measured move? So this would be the best value area, in my opinion, to be a long-term buyer on Bitcoin. But to be a near-term buyer on Bitcoin, I don't think that's going to happen. Please don't say that I'm anticipating this to break down and roll over and go to 50K. That is not what I am anticipating or expecting. I'm just saying it could happen. As this has been a long-term consolidation formation. So the more that it struggles to break out above this, the more the chances of that happening start to play out. We'll see in the future. This is where you could be a buyer now with this chart and this structure. You could be a buyer at 83. You need to be a buyer at 50. If you get that move, you definitely need to double down. Or I probably would double down. You don't need to do anything, but yeah. We got a big news event coming up next week. It's coming up on the 15th. So, not next week, but the week after-ish. So mark your calendar. Jan 15. And then the rebalancing for those portfolio or for those indexes will happen in February. So if you get the news and the news is bad here and Bitcoin doesn't react negatively, you could wait until here. Because this is when the index funds will have to sell MicroStrategy. They will be selling MicroStrategy. They will be getting them out of the index. So that heavy sell side pressure would start here on the rebalancing of the index. So January is an important month, but the first 2 weeks really moot. It's what happens the last 2 weeks in January and what happens in February. What I would love to see is nothing happens here and then Bitcoin just keeps trending up in February. Those would be very good signs. And if that were to happen, I would have a massive bullish bias. Massive bullish bias. If Bitcoin doesn't break down and put in fresh lows, or at a bare minimum take out November's low, I would be so bullish on Bitcoin it wouldn't even be funny. So that's all we got to wait for. But in the meantime, we got to trade it because that's what we do. We're traders. So yeah, midpoint of the weekly test right now happening, but it really is a nothing burger in terms of daily range. It could continue today, but we'll see what happens. Volumes are getting a little bit more looking like there could be a potential continuation. But if you look at my crosshairs, you see this big day here? You should have seen downside continuation from that volume. You did not. And then the same here. Boom, boom. You should have seen downside continuation here. To be fair, you did see a little bit of downside continuation, but this was more of a grind sideways than it is downside continuation. But notice where the crosshairs are. Like, they chop that volume off. That's where you are right now. Right now, you're right there. So, for Bitcoin to break down, it is crucial that it gets more downside continuation today. I don't want it to break down, but that's what the bears are going to be watching. To me, this still looks good. It looks good. We'll see what happens, though. All right. Anything else? Doesn't look like it. Bitcoin can't compete with silver. Okay, let's see here. Bitcoin came online in what, 2011? Okay. So let's compare. Because you just said Bitcoin can't compete. You didn't say it can't compare, to be fair. You said it can't compete with silver. All right. There you go. Looks about the same. But that's not going to give us a fair comparison. We need to change these to percentage, not price. Let's see what happens. Okay. So up here, Bitcoin was at 1,147,580% worth of gains in the same amount of time. 1,147%. 1,000,000% in terms of gains. Silver in the same time has produced 169%. My friend, you are wrong. Objectively wrong. Bitcoin has been outcompeting silver since the day it was born. Silver is only right now seeing a nice gain. So has silver beaten Bitcoin since October? Yes, you're right about that. Well, no, you might not even be right about that. I'm looking at the quarterly. Oh, silver. Here, let's just go to that. There, that's fair comparison. There you go. So since August, silver has outcompeted Bitcoin. Since August. To say that it can't compete on a large scale is just crazy. Bitcoin is way better than silver. Way better. Way better, dude. It's not even a comparison. But yeah, silver's had a nice little rally. So has all other metals. I don't know if silver is even beating other metals. I haven't looked. I don't know. Silver maybe outcompeted gold. Did it outcompete palladium? Silver's having a nice rally. I'm not going to take that away. I own a shitload of silver 1 ounce coins. I actually sold 60 of them in the middle of 2025 because silver was rallying. And I've had those things forever. They were collecting dust. I had so many of them. I got rid of 60 of them just because they were up nicely. Now the rest of them that I own, which is a lot more than that, is double what I got paid for them back then. Oh, I love silver. I hope it keeps going. But it doesn't beat Bitcoin. It's only beat it on year-to-date gains. Or for last year. Like, that's the only year that it has been better. It just started to break out, so it's doing good. Silver looks good. Hopefully silver can continue. I say it will because they continue to spend money in the government. They continue to devalue the dollar. So it makes sense that they're finally breaking out, gold and silver. And, you know, old timers, they're going to drift more towards gold and silver on their investments. I'd say once Bitcoin hits, you know, 300-400K, you're going to see such a capital inflow into Bitcoin. It will be literally insane. They probably think it's done right now. But once Bitcoin has more time, once people start to see that it is never going away, because Bitcoin is continuing to grow.
All right, hello traders, this is James Stanley.
Oh, what's going on?
And Forex.com. And just making sure that the stream is coming through on live.
Oh, he's going live right now? Nice. All right, we'll wrap it up there. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I was just ranting anyways. Nobody said anything or wanted to see anything, so I guess we'll wrap it up. I'll continue to hold the short on Bitcoin for the rest of the day just to see what it does. If it does break down below yesterday's low, I am not going to get rid of it because I have been waiting for Bitcoin to give us the opportunity to put on a futures hedge for the downside break. And I got that position off today. So I didn't love it as a sell down here. I'm glad I waited because now the position is open. It is making money. So if Bitcoin does continue to go down at 20x leverage, this position will make a shitload of money if it breaks down. It doesn't look big here, but it's you know, 500 times 20. It's $20,000 worth of Bitcoin short. It'd be a nice trade if Bitcoin has another 50% drop. I'm not anticipating that, but I do have to protect for that because I do own a lot of Bitcoin. But that position is pretty much already, I've already got that hedged with the puts on IBIT. So I'm good to go if Bitcoin breaks down. I don't want it to because people make money when it goes up. The only people that make money when Bitcoin goes down are people like us, traders. And we know what, you know, we know where we're going to put that risk on and things like that. So we're the only ones that do good when Bitcoin dies or goes down. The long only guys, they don't. So I want Bitcoin to only go up for those people. And also when Bitcoin does do good, which it will in the future, it will go higher. I truly believe that. Then more and more people will start to come into Bitcoin and it'll become hopefully a frenzy and you see people start to get back involved in Bitcoin because it's trading at $250,000 per token. And then all the people that sold at 60 are going to be mad and, you know, yeah. But I believe because of what I know about it, I believe it does have the ability to do great things in the future. Whether it will or not, that's the risk. That is your risk. If people don't mass adopt it, then it probably does eventually get killed. People must adopt it. They must. And then they must start running nodes and start using it as money. So once people fully say, yeah, I like Bitcoin, I want to be paid in Bitcoin, then Bitcoin goes to the moon. When people want Bitcoin, that's when it gets adopted. When they don't want it yet, only 200 million of us do. Wait till it's 3 billion, 4 billion. Because if Bitcoin continues to do what it's been doing, it will get mass adopted. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you guys Thursday. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.